All right. Do your traditional three bows to the Buddha.
Okay.
Put a picture up. So, first bow. And bow to the teacher.
I assume you bowed. I don't know. Some people have got photographs up. Liana and Jane and that. All right. So I guess I begin.
Okay.
Oh my goodness! Look at the wrinkle.
Sunhee is here. Sunhee. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Jane. Where's Liana? She's disappeared there.
Oh, she might be back.
Yeah.
And we never know. Okay. Well, I hope. What?
I'm muting it.
You're muting everybody. Okay.
No, I'm muting it myself.
Oh, okay. Mute 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 8. Okay. Haven't seen anybody for a couple of years. And hold on, I got to do something here. All right. I guess I'm still visible. There we go. All right. It's a beautiful day down here in where I live. And I hope it is everywhere where you are, although some are supposed to have rain or something like that. It's been 2 years since I've participated in this retreat. And what a 2 years has been. With all that's still going on around us from 2.5-year pandemic, with more than 1 million deaths. 1 million deaths in the US alone, to a potential economic recession, to racial justice, to political divisiveness and extremism, to rampant conspiracy theories, to a Russian imperialist invasion and war of atrocities against Ukraine, to environmental degradation and extreme weather, to famine and malnutrition, and much more in every continent except Antarctica, and maybe even Antarctica, for global warming is now influencing conditions there. Many people have low spirits and emotions are understandably high or hot. However, in the midst of all this, welcome to the Yin-Shun Summer Zoom Retreat, a Zoomer retreat. There has been a whole lot of Zooming going on during the last 2.5 years. So I imagine all or most of you are well Zoomed, accomplished Zoomers. Some of you have Zoomed a lot. This Zoom retreat is our third transcontinental, trans-Pacific retreat, because your other presenters will be Zooming in from across the Great Pacific Pond, Taiwan, Australia, and New Zealand. As for me, I'm in Williamsport, Maryland, which is on the Potomac River, just west of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and about 70 miles northwest of Washington, D.C., 13 miles west of the Appalachian Trail. I live in a retirement community here, and it's a peaceful place. We're glad you're here in Zoom Sphere with us. And I think most everybody knows everybody, but just let's do this anyhow. Introduce yourself to us by telling us your name, location, and whether you have, well, I know most of you have attended previous English language program Yin-Shun Dharma retreats. So just briefly check in, unmute yourself, say who you are, and then mute yourself again. And don't be shy. Just anybody check in and give a howdy.
Hi, this is Leanna. I've been to many retreats, more than a decade, I would say. I currently reside in Pennsylvania, Northeast, close to New Jersey. And that's that. Nice to see all of you.
Someone else.
Good
Okay, I am
morning.
Faye.
Go ahead,
I'm
Faye.
with the Bodhi Monastery for 20 years. So I know Michael all this life, I guess. Right, Michael?
A long time.
Yeah. Anyway, so welcome to everybody. So anybody would like to have any information for Buddhism, learning or reading, please write to me. I think I send you all my, all the information in and out and all that. So thank you. Everybody can join our annual Dharma retreat from Yin-Shun Foundation. Welcome all.
Thank you.
Well, thank you to Faye and the foundation and all
Faye,
the teachers.
sorry, Faye, are you
participating.
file 2021?
What?
I don't see your face. Are you file 2021?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Faye.
I
don't see you ever.
I don't have a camera.
Ugh.
Okay, Jane, go.
Thank you. I think there might be an audio delay on my end, but at any rate, my name is Jane. I'm in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. This is retreat number 19 for me, and it is good to see all of the regulars online.
Same here. It's sunny. It's good to see you all familiar faces, except Faye. Yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years, but I've been doing a lot of Zooming, so that's a good thing, I think. And I think I'm kind of developing a new normal, and which is really not bad. I mean, this is great to be, having alone time quite often, which is good, I think. So these are the good side effects of COVID for me.
Good.
Okay, Thomas, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay,
Can
so
you
you
hear
get
me?
my message, right?
I did. Yeah, I had no trouble getting on. I received all the emails, so thank you for following. But here I am on Zoom, virtually
Okay,
with all
so
of you.
introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Tom. I'm from Roslyn Heights, New York, which is just outside of New York City on Long Island. And this is my second virtual retreat.
All right.
Yeah, because I don't know, the first notice I sent to you, it come back as says a wrong email or whatever, so cannot catch you. That's why I was worried you cannot get in. So
No, I appreciate that. I received all the emails, so I'm not sure what happened. Maybe a hacker was making mischief, but I received everything, no problem, and here I am.
yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay, we've got Dana and Larry.
Hi, I'm Dana. I've been to a few retreats.
All right.
How about Justin?
Oh, Justin?
Hi, I'm right here. I mean, the only thing that I found interesting is that I was reading about the Silk Road. Now, this is totally irrelevant, but it may be relevant. My son has Parsi in him as well. And apparently they started the Silk Road, and some of them actually were the part of the group that the original that started Hinduism in India. But it also relates to the Bazaar and the East India Company. That's just totally irrelevant to Buddhism. Anyway, it has a relation to the Silk Road.
Okay, that finally leaves.
I'm Larry. So I'm a longtime retreat participant. I totally lost track. Maybe, I don't know, close to 10 years. Maybe not that long. I live in northern New Jersey, and yeah, I've done a few other couple of virtual retreats and stuff like that too. So, yeah, good to see everyone.
Good to see you, and thank you for your technical skills. Okay, so here we are Zooming again for the third time, maybe next year a real retreat in person, but it's a retreat nevertheless. Zooming the annual retreat does change the retreat's character somewhat. There is no morning, noon, or evening Chinese liturgy. There's no group meditation, no evening Q&A, no book exchange, no casual conversations, importantly, no kushball, and above all, no sumptuous Chinese vegetarian food made by skilled, devoted volunteers. Also, no chores. But you're here, and we thank you all for that. We hope you will find something of value. The main key housekeeping point is keep yourself muted unless designated to speak. And after you speak, please remute yourself. And I'll indicate when we can have, in my time, when we can have open chit-chat. We know, of course, that we are in this Zoom situation because of the continuing COVID-19 pandemic. It has not left us. It has just changed character. And we have been working hard to counter it, especially the Omicron variants. That's the one I had in May. Media headlines have been and still are full of words like long COVID, death tolls, stock market instability, global pandemic, events canceled, travel limitations, hospital staff burnout and shortages, new outbreaks, hotspots, face masks, and more. Although the pandemic seems to be declining, there are still efforts to contain and eventually eradicate it. And that means some people are still voluntarily wearing face masks, fewer and fewer every day. Sanitizing surfaces, less so. Lots of hand washing, testing, contact tracing, hospitalizations, social distancing, and more. Many people have died, as I mentioned earlier, over 1 million in the US alone. Many have lost their income, many businesses, their jobs. Many jobs are going unfulfilled. The economy may be heading for a recession. I hope not. Retirement people don't like to see that. This situation started as a health crisis, and it has been a crisis. And it's also become an economic crisis. Then, of course, during these last couple of years, we had the May 25th murder of George Floyd by a policeman in Minneapolis, and that provoked further revelations of more such heinous killings of especially Black and brown Americans. Then came the insurrection on Capitol Hill on January 6, 2021, not to mention mass shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde and elsewhere. Such events coming one on top of another, one after another, have created a lot of stress, uncertainty, fear, grief, anxiety, anger, confusion, isolation, boredom, loss, loneliness, and more. There is a lot of demonization going on. Many people have found it difficult to cope. And these are difficult times, troubling times. We have been able to cope with various past crises like the terrorist attack of 9/11. But at those times, we could get together and comfort one another and work in groups to make things better. This time, however, many of us are feeling a sense of separation from others, perhaps even isolation or semi-isolation, like living in a bubble or living in a silo, which makes it very difficult for some people to deal with the situations. So how have you fared? Have you used any Buddhist teachings and practices? If you have used them, have they helped? If not, what do you think of? Anybody want to volunteer anything here? Anybody?
I can volunteer.
Good. Go ahead and volunteer.
So initially, with the abundance of online meditation sessions, I was, regularly sitting, which really helped in the early months of the pandemic. I mean, especially because my father had to move into assisted living, and then unfortunately was the first to get COVID, which he recovered from, thankfully. So that was, a big help. But I think just, having, such a long history of Buddhist practice also helped. But I mean, I also found that at some point, anxiety really started to kick in. And I totaled my fit.
Oh,
in February.
well, you can't get another one. They don't make them. They don't sell them in the States anymore.
I know, which is a bummer, but I got one. I got a 2018, but you'll see it at some point. But after that point, I just really found it difficult to meditate. I don't know. I don't know if it was, the thought of stilling both my body and my mind. So I went through a period where I wasn't at least meditating. But again, I mean, the Buddhist teachings are just, I think, part of me now. And, my mind has, trained to a certain point that at least in my daily interactions with people, I'm following the precepts and, the Noble Eightfold Path. But at some point, something happened where the last retreat that Venerable Bodhi had, which I was volunteering for online, the first time when it came to sit, I had this wave of anxiety, not sure, but it ended up passing, within one session, and I ended up having, very productive retreat. Not sure why that was, but hopefully the anxiety has, abated and I've, gotten a grip on that. But I think the takeaway here is that, you practice during the good times, and then it just becomes, your way of being. So hopefully when you do get into the really bad patches, and, we've had this, unprecedented, pandemic, that it will hopefully help to keep you grounded.
Excellent. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I like to share my time, how I spent during this pandemic period.
Okay, good.
And I only use the email to share all my reading to everybody that I think they were interested in. Maybe they don't, that's okay. They can junk it. But anyway, but I have a group that coming for chanting meditation instead of facing the screen and close your eyes and sitting there by yourself and don't see anybody else. So we chanting with all this Dharma, Heart Sutra, and also chanting the Buddha's name, and few different languages. So we were doing it like weekly. So the one that who participate feel that is very calm for their, because some of them work at home. Some of them is not working at home, but in the office with the distance and all this restriction, they said it helps. So I'm not sure, but they keep coming and all that. But some people think that's a boring and too simple and all this thing. That's fine. But I think we have doing this for almost 2.5 years continuously, and then it works, and then it helps people. Since a lot of people losing a lot of their relative and friends, they got very depressed after they said after this simple session. They like it, so I keep doing that thing for them. But I keep sending all this article to everybody.
Well, that's very good, because chanting is part of the Buddhist tradition that goes all the way back to the beginning.
Yes, always the basic. I'm not sending them the difficult stuff, only the basic idea, just remind them. Some, especially when there's the bad news and things, and I will send them for how to send them like a metta meditation kind of things, and maybe repeating. But I mean, that's a way to do it, right? You have to repeat all this practice. That's all I do.
Very good.
Everybody would like to join. That's fine. I don't know. So you all have my email address anyway.
Yeah.
So that's all I go to. I use a lot of my email address. Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to share?
Yes, I have. I'll share my experience. Since the pandemic, I've worked remotely by myself, mostly on Zoom, also on email. And I've found as well that there will be no going back to the way it was before. That will not happen. The new normal going forward will reveal itself in time. And I have to force myself to not think about the future beyond the next day or the next meal, for that matter. I've turned inward in many respects. I've taken up drawing because there's no time like the present. I find that to be very soothing and very much fun. I write a lot of haiku poetry, and I've shortened my my horizon as far as looking forward, and I find that actually has been a very fulfilling thing, surprisingly so. Isolation is not such a bad thing all the time.
Yeah. Isolation in that sense becomes solitude, which is different than being solitary.
I totally agree in terms of my experience for the last 2.5, 3 years. It's more of trying to find the here and now, present moment, that kind of thing. And this whole experience, the situation kind of allows me to be alone. It's not really the word, but you think of the self more than, going places, socializing and all that stuff. And at the same time, the Zoom kind of allows, let me see people, family, we can get together. So sort of focusing myself inwards, I guess, this provided me that opportunity. And Faye and a few other people, we had this gathering once a week thing last year, whole year, which really kind of laid how to live ourselves alone and like an eightfold path. It's great guideline when, whenever you get lost, meaning, even when you're alone, you get lost in your head a lot. I do. And that this kind of focuses me back to present moment. And so what I'm trying to say is in terms of keeping up with the Buddhist practice, in my case, it's not of a sitting and the rituals. I think I don't know. I'm either past that or I'm not doing it enough. I don't know which is which, but I'm pretty content at the moment, the way of living. And in terms of normalcy, I think we all find our own normalcy going forward, because it's going to be different for everybody. Even if you go to work in that setting, everybody brings different experiences. It's never going to be normal in terms of normal used to be. And I guess we find normal in our own way. And for me, this is really not bad. I mean, as Tom said, I do my drawings, my yoga. You find your entertainment. You can entertain yourself if you are solid within, I think. And the downside is I tend to find more pleasurable normals and routines rather than like Faye sitting rigidly and devote an hour to Buddha. And that's what's lacking when I'm alone. But, so these are plus and minuses of post pandemic, I guess.
Thank you. All right, before we carry on, anybody else? I guess not. Huh?
Yes. Hi. So like everybody else, I think my story is very similar. As far as Buddhism in particular and practicing, I think the hardest part was the sitting. But I switched it to walking meditation. So that seemed to be a bit better. I picked up gardening this year, which is something I've done before. So that was interesting. And I would love your insight on something. I realized while gardening, it's very hard not to kill insects. It's either my plants or the insects. And I'm having this, internal kind of like fight between, should I kill it? Can I get rid of it a different way? I even kind of like did almost like a greenhouse with a mesh to try and keep the bugs out. But I don't know. I came to the realization there's no food without killing something, even if it's a plant. So I would love some insight on that. How to interpret it and what to do with it. But I'm trying my best not to kill. But at the same time, certain plants, it's just impossible. So
if you turn ladybugs loose in your garden, you won't have to worry about that. They will do the dirty work for you.
But that's still killing in my mind. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I still have a hand in it. Even the ants, they were telling me, take one ant colony and just drop some of it on the other one and they will kill each other. I mean, it still involves killing. So that was it. I mean, again, it's just, the whole thing about don't kill. And even if you eat plants, you're still killing something in order to eat that plant. So
we can come back to that, and I'll tell you an amusing story about when I lived in a Cambodian temple.
Okay.
But we will get back to that one. Okay, then back to the general comments in the talk. One of the things that we've been dealing with for a lot of people is dealing with fear, anxiety, anger, and hate. And it can... things like anger, anxiety, and hate arise from fear. As the Dharma teacher Josh Cordes pointed out, trying to ignore or flee from or suppress your fear isn't effective. The famous Alcoholics Anonymous 12-step program begins with an alcoholic admitting that he or she is an alcoholic. So it is also with fear. One of my former teachers, the late Daido Roshi at Zen Mountain Monastery, used to bellow in the Zendo, "Become the fear!" Meaning, face it, acknowledge it, don't flee from it, don't hide from it. Corder remarks that, as many wonderful psychologists have noted, when we stop suppressing our emotional experience, stress and anxiety are invariably alleviated. Instead of acting as if there were no fear, we would do well to disclose and own our feelings, for they're every bit as valuable and worthy of attention as our ideas and our accomplishments. Once acknowledged, once faced, the feeling of fear can be dealt with. Corder offers this exercise. 1, sit after developing some state of ease via concentration-based meditation, observing the breath, reciting loving kindness phrases, mindfulness of the Buddha, body scan, etc. Body scans, a lot of people find very effective. Bring to mind a situation that causes fear, a desire to flee or isolate yourself. To further activate the emotion, ask yourself, how does it feel to be vulnerable? How does it feel to be unsafe? Or other resonant questions. Notice any uncomfortable sensations that appear, such as the tightness in the abdomen or other physiological results. Let go of any tendency to resist the sensations or stay focused on the mental image that activated the feeling. He's even practiced thinking, "Hi, hello, welcome," when fear arises, to remove any tendency to avoid any inner experience. Breathe into and relax the areas around the fear, but not the core physical sensations themselves. For example, if we feel our anxiety most acutely in the chest or the throat, allow those areas to remain activated. Focus instead on relaxing the shoulders, arms, abdomen. We're making space for the fear, allowing it to grow, even though it is uncomfortable. Recognize the impulse to turn away from fear and return to the actual sensations. Keep your attention on these sensations of anxiety and investigate how they change, as if you were a zoologist observing a different species. The goal is to observe and nurture our anxiety. Only when emotions are truly attended to can they be endured and transformed into useful energies that express our needs and help guide us through life. Once you have faced your anxiety and fear, rather than ignore or flee or try to hide it, you can then befriend it and learn the message it is telling you. The late, great Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh put it this way, quite simply. He did that with almost everything. Quote, don't turn away from suffering, stay with it. Something will occur to you to do. It isn't very important that you do that thing, unquote. The Chinese bhikkhuni, Venerable Chang Wu, at the Dharma Drum Retreat Center in Vancouver, articulated this approach in a 4-stage process. Whatever it is, number 1, face it, meaning experience it. Fear, anger, all of these have a strong physiological dimension. You can feel it quite literally. 2, accept it, meaning embrace it. 3, deal with it, work with it. 4, let it go, free or liberate yourself from it. So 1, face it. 2, accept it. 3, deal with it. 4, let it go. Chan teacher Rebecca Lee uses a 3-step process. In other words, this is a well-tested approach. Rebecca says something like, let it in, work with it, let it go. So whether it's look at it as a 3-step process or you look at it as a 4-step process, it is a well-tested approach to dealing with the negativities and the vexations that we experience. Another activity is everyday mindfulness with our activities. This is stitching mindfulness into your practice in all aspects of the tapestry of your life. If you have some time to develop this, first, slow down. Begin the day with waking mindfulness. In other words, start from the get-go. You're more successful if you put mindfulness into the very beginning of your day. When you wake up, sit on the edge of your bed and ground yourself in being aware of your body, how it feels, and its posture. Note the feeling of sitting on the edge of your bed, of your posterior on the edge of your bed, perhaps your legs against the bedside, your feet on the floor. Do you feel the carpet, wood, laminate, or something else? Note the feeling of what you are wearing, or if you're not wearing anything, the feeling of the air on your skin. What do you hear, smell, see? Stand, noting the change in posture. Don't move. Note the different bodily feeling in standing. There's a difference in the apprehension of weight. There's a difference in the even perhaps in feeling the air. And then notice the difference when you start to walk. Continue in this way to make morning mindfulness as a foundation for your daily practice. Of course, this is fundamental practice, goes back all the way back to the Buddha. The classic text is in the Pali Canon, the Satipatthana Sutta, where it appears twice. And the Buddha said, and further, monks, A monk knows when he is going, I am going. He knows when he is standing, I am standing. He knows when he is sitting, I am sitting. He knows when he is lying down, I am lying down. Or just as his body is disposed, so he knows it. Thus he lives contemplating the body and the body internally, or he lives contemplating the body in the body externally, or he lives contemplating the body in the body internally or externally. That's my phone ringing. I'm not answering it. Speaking of moving, it is vital to not only move, but to make general mindfulness of everyday movements part of your daily practice. Back to the Satipatthana Sutta, quoting the Buddha again, and further monks. A monk, in going forward and back, applies clear comprehension. In looking straight on and looking away, he applies clear comprehension. In bending and in stretching, he applies clear comprehension. In wearing robes and carrying the bowl, he applies clear comprehension. In eating, drinking, chewing, savoring, he applies clear comprehension. In walking, in standing, in sitting, in falling asleep, in waking, in speaking, and in keeping silence, he applies clear comprehension. It is important to remember that the point of Buddhist meditation is not to sit on a cushion, or for those of us who can't sit on a cushion anymore, sit on a chair, but to bring about transformation in your life. And life is doing. You could say life is a performance art, and so is Buddhism. And the point of mindfulness in this is not just to be in the moment, in the now, but to grow clear comprehension, discernment, clarity of understanding, which is the seed of wisdom. Practicing everyday mindfulness during this pandemic helps you develop a sound, stable foundation to deal with what comes and with what you experience, to face whatever comes during our unsettled time. As clear comprehension develops into understanding and understanding into wisdom, you are even better prepared. Walking meditation, as some of you have already mentioned, is a wonderful practice to stitch into your daily routine. There are a number of ways of developing walking meditation. When I was working at American University, I did it when going from places on campus because we had long stretches of uninterrupted sidewalk. When working at George Washington University, I did it while walking from my condo in an area called DuPont Circle to the university and back. So that was about a mile down, a mile back. I also do it sometimes while hiking on the Appalachian Trail or walking about my retirement community, which I do every day for exercise. Such walking meditation is not the classical stylized, super slow, highly concentrated form of some Vipassana retreats, or the rapid, slow Zen Kinhin style, or the Thich Nhat Hanh style. It's very easy to do. It's done as part of my everyday activities, and it can be part of yours, as some of you already said you do. So it involves just enough mindfulness to stay with it, as well as navigate yourself to where you are going without bumping into anyone and things are getting run over. I was once doing it, walking to teach my morning class at George Washington University. And it so happened that a friend of mine came out of a building along the way as I was walking, and he looked at me and he said, "You're doing walking meditation, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "How can you tell?" He could say, "I could tell by the way you were walking." I wasn't going very, very slow, but it was clear to him I was going mindfully. So that was kind of fun. Here's one way to begin. When you take your first step, mentally note whether it is left or right. Then continue noting left, right, etc. When that stays with you, notice how your feet and legs feel. When you lift, move, and place them. get used to this. If you are interrupted by a friend, stoplight, something else, resume when you start walking again. By the way, when you stop, this is important thing, I think, note that and how it feels. Note that you stopped. You can say to yourself, stop, and how it feels. This everyday style will not only improve your awareness, but also calmness. While doing this, your mind wanders less, judges less, stresses less, angst less. Your mind stops going through the monkey mind routines, which is very good. It's very important to remember, as I think most of you do, because you're regulars, that formal sitting practice, whether it's classic meditation of the insight kind, the jhanic kind, one of the Zen kind, silent illumination, which is what I do, koans, whatever it is, or chanting, or some of these other routines, that strengthens your daily mindfulness. And as you develop your daily mindfulness, that strengthens your sitting or formal meditation. The two go together into a whole cloth. It's really, really important. That's why everyday mindfulness is so important. There's another one of those, mindfulness of eating. This was one that was very key in my first meditation teacher, who was a Thai monk. It is another everyday practice that is good to develop. One good book is Jan Chosen Bay's Mindful Eating. However, here is what my first meditation teacher, Tanachan Soba Namto, taught me. And that is that you sit down. To do it really takes a long time. It took me half an hour to basically drink one smoothie. But you sit down and you're aware of sitting. You're aware of the feeling of the chair against your body, your hands on your table, and the food. Then you note the intention to want to eat. And then you slowly raise your hand, move it over, go down, touch, etc. This is not a good way to get your meal done. However, it is a good formal practice, especially if you're alone, to take a little bit of time and do that. Jan Chosen Bays has also written a very handy little book. It's called Mindfulness on the Go. And this thing is just chock full of little exercises that you can incorporate into your day. If you're traveling and you're doing a lot of flying or other traveling where you don't have to do the driving, stick it in your luggage or your carry-on, because there are various exercises you can do on the plane while you're at it. Wonderful book. Then we come to something that Flo knows about, and that is chanting, bowing in Zen or other Buddhist liturgy. A number of Western Buddhists have eschewed anything devotional, but devotion has been a key part of Dharma wayfaring of Buddhism from the very get-go. Chanting is and has always been a standard practice in all schools and sects, except perhaps the modern secular Buddhists. Not only does it take you, put that again, not everyone takes to it at first. Daido Roshi used to describe how he avoided liturgy of his teacher, Maizumi Roshi, at the Zen Center of Los Angeles. When time for the liturgy came, Daido would duck out the back door, smoke a few cigarettes until the liturgy was over. Then he would go back in. And Maizumi Roshi never criticized him for it. Never once. He just noted it. However, as Daido's practice matured, and this is what Maizumi Roshi already knew, he became an avid promoter of liturgy and chanting. And therefore, if you have ever been at Zen Mountain or you ever go to Zen Mountain, you will find that the liturgy, morning, noon, and night, is a key part of the practice there. Very formal, very effective. In Korea, I met a devout Buddhist judge and his wife who did 108 bow service every day in the morning when they got up, before he went to court, before she went about her daily business. They bowed, standing, head up, down, head on the floor, back up again, 108 times while chanting. This practice I dubbed Buddhist aerobics. It'll be very good for you and very good for your heart. Anyhow, it clearly strengthened their faith. I had an American friend in Korea who wanted to become a Buddhist, and the patriarch of the Choge Buddhist order, that is the Zen order in Korea, at that time required a person to bow 3,000 times before becoming a Buddhist. And this is not just the standing bow. This is the same one the judge and his wife did. You stood, and then you went down to the floor and back up again 3,000 times, but not all in sequence. You could do little groups like 100 or 50, whatever, totaling up to 3,000 times. The bows didn't have to be done in one long, exhausting sequence. So one day she was bowing in the Buddha hall, and she suddenly had an insight. I am the bow. In other words, her sense of self evaporated. She was no longer some person acting. She was the act itself. I am the bow. So this is another thing that can come from some of these practices, insights, walking, bowing, and others. Members of groups devoted to the Pure Land and the Lotus Sutra traditions chant as a main practice. These devotional activities pertain especially to the affective side of our nature and can help people provide comfort and stability during trying times like these. Devotional activities help focus the mind, inspire the mind, and strengthen the mindfulness. There are many other things that you have already mentioned that can be done. Reading and study, sutra study is a big one. A number of people do that kind of thing over the Zoom. Connecting with others, Faye's group at Bodhi Monastery. Nature, getting out in nature, hiking in nature, doing walking meditation in nature. Here in my retirement community, we have a small park with a circular path. And I go down there and I do walking meditation surrounded by trees and flowers and all of that. Another one that hasn't been mentioned, and I had the fortune of for a while, it's a pet. I had a cat who got cancer and had to be euthanized on June 6th. His name was Fred, a black cat. Jane knew him. And the pet can get you through. You can be a person you talk with, someone you take care of. That is another way to do it, and while practicing loving kindness. So these are some of the things you can do in difficult times, and they are practices that you can do at any time. Buddhism does have these practices that help get one through, maintain one's stability, and also feeling much, much better. So any questions, any comments?
I think there's a formal term for the forest stuff. They call it forest bathing now.
They call it that. That comes from Japan. It's developed in Japan and been picked up here in the United States. They call it forest bathing, and it has some solid science behind it. There are a number of people who have been writing in the United States, researchers, about the positive effect on nature, on people, the negative effect of the lack of nature on people. But the Japanese, at it again, came up with forest bathing. Very, very, very much the case. Yes, go ahead. Justine.
Yeah, I swim like you're forest bathing. In other words, I can be in the water for an hour and a half if I work up to speed, where I'm just swimming. I'm not becoming anything, but I feel like I'm a part of the water or something. I don't know.
Yeah, you just become the swim itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just feels good.
I like to prostration.
Yes.
It is a very good sort of like physical exercise. I'm doing this Chinese prostration.
Yeah.
Up and down to the floor and go up again. but slowly.
Well, that's very good. You're doing the Buddhist aerobics. And what is going on here is doing it slow has benefits also like yoga.
Yeah.
Yoga is another thing that you can do. And the part of the importance of yoga is it is so slow and it is holding positions.
And all this joint from your neck, your hand, your back, your knee, and your leg, everything is in. At the beginning, it's kind of a little bit difficult because you have to concentrate the movement. And that's part of the meditation to me.
Yes, it is. It is a very good one.
So this is to me, it's a physical and meditation at once.
Yes, I agree with you entirely.
It is very, very good. I think I try actually daily for like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that is something that is much more developed in the Mahayana traditions than it is in the Theravada traditions.
Yeah, this is my own master, Renjin, told me to do that. 108 at the beginning. I almost die.
That is like the judge and his, Faye, that's like the judge and his wife. They had been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
So they were really in great shape.
Yeah, I did that too. I really think, because I don't want to walk around the block on something like this because it's distracting my surrounding. Because some people may say hello to you and then you have to stop your action walking. But anyway, but you need a good shoes but prostration, I would suggest everybody try that. It's very nice.
And you don't need any shoes.
No, you don't need any makeup or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it. And anytime you feel like it, do 10 or 20 or sometime 50 when you feel like it. That's anytime you have time to do that. That's what I always do. Since I've been doing it for 20 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's why you're in such good shape.
So far, good. I'm not bragging yet because I don't want to be somebody up there say, you bragging too much, you get hit on my head.
Or you could skip your core workouts too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish everybody learned how to prostration like we do it in the Bodhi monastery. I think I show many people in Bodhi monastery many times.
Mm-hmm.
But good. I don't know if they probably think that I'm a little bit childish telling them what to do.
No, not at all.
So, but I think I benefited with that. It's very good.
It's something that many Western Buddhists don't do enough of. But one does find in Buddhist countries.
They did not learn the right way to do it.
Yeah.
When you know it the right way to do it, it's really effortless.
Mm-hmm.
You just do it and then you just like what we were learning from the sutra, I think they say, now you are moving your walking meditation, left foot up and down and right foot left. Same thing, but it's a different action.
Yeah, that goes back to that quote I read from the Satipatthana Sutta.
Yeah.
The Buddha is talking about doing everything, do it with mindfulness. This is a key. I'll talk tomorrow more about Thich Nhat Hanh. But this is a key thing of his method. His method was incorporated mindfulness into your everyday life in all of those things.
Mm-hmm. It's a detail, very detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all very good practices. Thank you, Michael and Faye. And I'm taking a vow to begin the daily prostration.
All right. You don't have to begin with 108.
No.
I won't, but I'll work my way up.
Yeah, but for 49 to start with, and then you increase to 108.
Okay.
It takes
or if for some people 49 is daunting, one can start with somewhat less and then add an extra one every day.
Yes, that's true. That's a good idea too. But 3,000, I think a little bit too long.
Everybody thought that was extreme, but the saving grace was that they didn't all have to be done at once.
Then you lose count.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, the time is over. I mean, it's up already.
Okay, so we're back at 5 o'clock.
Yes, we come back at 5 o'clock at the for CE 法师. They're gonna storyteller.
Oh yeah.
From the Lotus Sutra.
Lots of good
very
stories
nice.
in the Lotus. Yeah.
Yes. And then go on until 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Okay.
Larry, you should bow the Buddha.
Yep.
Okay.
3 bows to the Buddha. Bow to the teacher.
And teacher to students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm sorry to hear about Fred.
See you all.
It was.
Yeah, this evening.
Thank you. See you later.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you later.
Later all.